So Assassin's Creed Mirage is finally here after waiting for so long since the last Assassin's Creed game, and I've just finished the main story, so I've taken away almost everything that's featured in this game. I'm now here to talk about what this game does right, basically praising the game to see if it executes aspects better than previous games, and what makes this entry so different. So yes, this video will be shorter, and of course it isn't a overall review. Don't worry though, the opposing side will be coming soon, so there's the positive and the negative look at this game split up into two. Before I begin, I'll mention that there is minimal spoilers in this video. There's only a few parts of certain missions that I show for the purpose of showing the gameplay aspect, but nothing that spoils the story. Now let's jump in. Now the first thing Mirage does almost perfectly, and my favourite part, is the stealth. This game is crammed with stealth, which I already expected from the information we were given before about this game, and how it was going to have more back to roots gameplay and a more assassin playing style. Therefore the stealth was always going to be a huge part, and it's safe to say it does. Almost every mission you do is evolved around stealth, with the gameplay feeling nowhere near the same if you try to just go all out in fighting, like in Valhalla for example, where it had minimal stealth missions, and here we are where it takes up a majority of the gameplay. There's so many possible methods and ways to plan out a route to silently take down enemies, and it does really push you to think about the way you execute your mission. As you can see by this gameplay, this was one of my favourite moments with stealth that really makes you feel like an assassin. There's a really good variety in assassin animations, and they're super clean. Even the chain assassinations are great, where it will throw a throwing knife at the nearest target when aimed at, which helps a lot when you're in the vision of two guards. The integration of the environment is fantastic, with a huge variety of ways to attack, emphasizing it even more when it comes to the tools, like the blow dart or throwing knife, that both of course are silent, and so satisfying to use alongside takedowns. Even more use of the environment by you pulling down scaffolding for use as a distraction, or exploding flammable objects, splitting open bags of dye. If we only looked at stealth in every single game, then this game would honestly come in around top 5, but maybe that could be a potential video soon. Sticking with the stealth theme, as I mentioned with the throwing knife and blow dart, the sets of tools are another thing that Mirage nails. A good variety, clearly all made for stealth. The smoke bombs for example, which are pretty much the same as the old games, so nothing wrong there. I really liked how they were red in this game though. I found that really simple yet such a nice touch, and fits with the theme, adding so much colour rather than just the usual grey. The noisemaker can be used to lure guards away from you, really helping as yet another distraction, and the trap tool knocks down enemies for a period of time. Another aspect that Mirage has gotten right is the black box missions, which has been seen in pretty much all the games, but in this one there's lots of variety in optional tasks to gain clues or items to switch up the approach of the target you're set to assassinate. It's not just a fixed mission that plays out the same every time, which was the case in most black box missions before, though there's so many different paths you can choose, and it feels way more independent rather than everyone following the same route, feeling a lot more rewarding when you do assassinate them. It's so open. In fact, in this clip I accidentally switched the path I was going by causing havoc after I misclicked a strike on a civilian, which then made the target come out of his room, so then I could assassinate him. The same goes with the contracts, that have good variety to them and don't feel repetitive, which can easily be done when it's not the main story mission focus. Some are more involved than others, and I enjoyed them. The next thing Mirage does right is the social stealth, which has really gone back to the roots we were promised, with so many ways to distract guards or sneak past without being detected, from the usual crowd blending with such a small improvement, but it makes such a huge difference, and that's when blending in on the move. Basim will stick to the same walking speed. Before you had to slow down and speed up, which would then lead to you sprinting. Having this feature really makes it seem more realistic and doesn't strip away the immersion. I'm so glad they added it, especially with social stealth being a big deal in this game. There's many other ways, like the usual yet really helpful bench blending, where you can assassinate someone who walks past, paying someone to play music to lure guards towards them, paying reinforcements to attack guards. There's a huge variety in distraction and blending, which of course really emphasizes stealth. Moving away from stealth, the next aspect that Mirage gets right is the finisher moves and animations. Combat isn't perfect, which I'll talk about in the opposing video, but I must say the variety and brutality in animations when finishing a fight are great, and makes combat more rewarding at the end, and the assassin character really comes out, rather than just the same basic strike for the final hit. Now a huge part of Mirage that everyone seems to appreciate alongside stealth is the look of this game. The setting of Baghdad is gorgeous and looks amazing. The lighting and textures are so good at night and daytime. It really does the setting justice because you have a giant playground of ways to traverse around the city with parkour and fighting or sneaking past guards. They design the city so well, so it doesn't become repetitive with parkour. The attention to detail in architecture is really impressive. The textures on walls are great, and the area is crammed with so many different props and objects to feel way more alive and interesting, highlighting this Baghdad setting. The same goes with the population and crowd density. There's a ton of civilians in Baghdad walking around or having jobs to do that make the game feel so alive. They nailed the open world design, and I believe it's one of the best ones yet for sure. Even though the setting was way smaller to what we've been used to with the recent games, it never becomes repetitive, and traversing around the array of tightly packed buildings will never get old. It's bursting with colour in terms of forestry, objects and decorations, rather than just the basic cream tones of the stone buildings, so it's really balanced well. And that brings me on to the parkour design, which allows for a lot of fun. There's a bunch of different parkour ledges that aren't just the same every time, with endless routes to follow to your next mission. I always saw myself parkouring rather than just walking or fast travelling. With how dense this environment is, unlike the RPG titles like Valhalla, which had almost no density in the villages and towns, which is not great for parkour, and that's key in an AC game. You actually have to think and see where you climb onto ledges, rather than just climbing up every wall, which doesn't seem realistic, meaning it's way more pushed in this game, just like stealth, which I really appreciated. Next is the customization that this game does really well in. The outfits and upgrades towards them are very unique and all look great. All of them of course follow that assassin robe to them, which I expected with them going back to roots, which is cool to see in a way more modern game, so it looks better than ever before. The outfit dyes you gain from shops or loot chests add on to the array of options for Basim's look and colour. I haven't gained every single outfit, but from the ones I have, I love them all, and though they follow the same theme, there's a good amount of variety to them. Lastly, I'd like to talk about the opening of Mirage's story that they do get right. Now this is from a time when the Brotherhood called themselves the Hidden Ones, and you follow Basim as he becomes one of them from the ground up. You see him build up as he's trained by Roshan. It's a gradual opening but was really engaging, and I liked it this way. I wouldn't want them to rush into it, and when you see him join them, it's way more rewarding and earned. One of my favourite parts of the game. I also think it's because this story seems to have a much more deep tone to it, quite early on as well, which hasn't been seen in an AC game for a while. Of course there's been serious moments, but you can pretty much tell from the opening that this story has a darker tone to it. Overall, I really enjoyed following this opening, and it wasn't just the hype of the game. With that being said, this is what Assassin's Creed Mirage does right. As I mentioned, I'm set to do the other side of this video, what it did wrong, and that'll be soon. I'm really enjoying Mirage at the moment, and I'm so glad it's finally here after 3 years with no Assassin's Creed. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments, what you think the game does right or wrong. If you did enjoy this video or found it helpful, then let me know by tapping that like button down below. And if you enjoy story video games, then that's what this channel is all about. I do reviews on a huge range of games. There will be a playlist of a series I've done in the description down below. Thank you for watching until the very end, and until next time, bye bye.